Good morning.
Sabah al-Khair.
How are you?
كيف؟
I'm fine.
أنا كويس.
Please.
معلش.
Thank you.
شكرا.
My name is David Dazwa.
اسم تايا إليزابيث جيدن.
I come from Christ the King School here, South Sudan.
أنا جاي من كرايست ذا كينج يي جنوب السودان.
Goodbye.
باي باي.
Good morning, Sabah al-Khair. How are you? Khair. I am fine. Other quiz. Please, Maris. Thank you. Shukran. My name is Josephine Faber. Isim Thai Yao Josephine Faber. I come from Ras the King, South Sudan. Alaja means Ras the King, South Sudan. Goodbye. Bye bye.
صباح الخير. كيف؟ أنا كويس. معلش. شكرا. اسم دايا لويس أوباما. أنا جاي في كازا كينج يا ساوث السودان. باي باي.
Goodbye.
باي باي. My name is L19. I am 10 years old. I have three sisters and three brothers. My father is working in Juba and my mother is in Turin. I get up 7 o'clock in the morning.
Before leaving for school, Lena Joanne washes, cleans her teeth and gets changed into her uniform.
Good
Her family live in a traditional tukul, that is walls made from dried mud with a thatched roof of dried grass. Once she has packed her bag, she walks to school. This takes less than 30 minutes. Many of her neighbours attend the same school, St. Teresa's Primary School. The morning bell reminds everyone to line up for assembly before classes. The head boy gets students ready with a few warm-ups.
Good morning, assembly.
Raising the country's flag and singing the national anthem are important events at the start of the week.
Oh God,
Then it's time to head to class for the first lesson of the day, mathematics.
my favorite subjects are Math, English, Science, SST, Theory.
Everybody has to focus on the blackboard.
After 2 lessons, it is time for a break in the morning. Lena Joanne enjoys time with friends. Others enjoy games outside. It is also a good time to get some water from the school pump. There can be quite a wait. Students line up during their lunch break to get their food. Lena Joanne is happy to receive her portion on her plate. She walks with her friend Iman Francis back to class to eat. Today's lunch is a bean mix, and the girls take turns eating with their hands. Students generally learn by listening to the teacher and writing notes from the blackboard. Some teachers use music and song too. Once school is over, it is time to head home. Lena Joanne joins many students as they walk back to their families.
I help my mommy like cooking, like washing clothes, like everything I do.
It's time to pick greens from the garden for dinner.
My favorite is green.
Then a little bit of sweeping keeps her family's property looking clean and tidy.
I playing with my friend and I cooking and eating and wash my uniform. Tomorrow I'm going trading. Tomorrow I'm going to school. When I grow up, I want to be a doctor.
My name is Peter Taban Alfred. I'm 18 years old. In my family, I have 3 brothers and 4 sisters, and plus mother and father. We just live in Yei Town, Yei River State, South Sudan. We live happily in our family. We have animals such as goats, pigeons, chicken, ducks, rabbits, and rats. I usually get up in the morning around 6:30 a.m. After that, I will brush my teeth, fetch my water, take a shower, feed my animal, put on my uniform, then I rush to school.
Peter sleeps in his own tukul, which is found right next door to a few others on his family's land. His 20-minute walk to school follows a short journey through neighbouring properties before joining the main road that leads to his school.
I have been in school for 12 years. We start school at 8 sharp.
At St. Joseph's Secondary School, Peter and some of his classmates finish off their homework before the teacher arrives. One of the students writes up notes on the blackboard for others to copy.
Compromising to your father. If you agree to go to take a course or to.
Peter and his class read out loud together.
My favorite subject are chemistry and maths. I'm doing best in them.
At Peter's school, they are lucky to have a number of copies of the textbook, so students can directly see and read the exercises during lessons. It's almost time for the first break of the day, which is breakfast. Mothers and senior students work together to provide an omelette-type meal. For hundreds of students, this requires many eggs. Students always enjoy farming lessons, where they get to use various tools outside. Today, they are learning how to plant seeds successfully. When lunchtime arrives, Peter helps out collecting in food tickets as students receive their food. The menu today is beans and ugali made from sorghum. It is common for students to sit together and share food from the same plate. Eating wet food with your hand alone takes a bit of skill. Peter takes time to clean his hands before the start of the next lesson. When rain rain comes, sometimes it doesn't stop for a long time. Lessons continue though. Luckily, the rain has stopped today at the end of the school day. Peter walks home, but his day is not over.
I help my family by fetching water, staying together with them, showing them respect, obeying their words, and do other activities in the home, like digging and others. I dig tomatoes, maize, and I sell them and I get income of buying my school items, like pens and books and uniform even.
After working in the garden, Peter completes some homework outside before it gets dark. There's always time to have a bit of fun with friends too.
I usually go to bed at around 8 something or 8:30. In the future, I will hope to be a professional doctor to help the people of South Sudan after completing my secondary school. I will continue until I reach to the level of scientist so that I could discover something to help this country so that people will not die of diseases.
In St. Joseph Primary School, we have 1,320 pupils. Now, in my class, we have 89. We come from home maybe at 7, then we go for assembly at 8:30, and after assembly at 9, we go to class. Then at 10:30, we come out for breakfast. Then again, we go to class. At 12, then we come for just a short break. Then we go to class. Then at 1:30, from primary 1 to 6, they will go home. Then we'll be remaining 7 and 8. At 3, that means that's when 7 and 8 will go home.
Primary 8, we find others are 17, 16, and 18. Others are 20 years old.
Sometimes, due to conditions of the war, children come 11 years, 12 years of age. We take them in primary 1. 200,000 kids in South Sudan are going without education.
In school, I enjoy when the teacher comes to the class. It lets people not to sit in the class just idle without doing anything. Just talking to your friends, that brings no benefit to us. So if the teacher comes to the class, it teaches us, it gives us some knowledge. To me, it feels good.
I really enjoy learning. I come very early in the morning mostly, and I sit down. When teachers are not there, I concentrate on my books and at least do something to not let go of my time or to not waste my time. I at least do something to cover the time that my teacher is not yet inside the class.
At school, they build a tank, and there's a solar. It brings the light from the sun. That's why it gets the energy to observe the water from the ground.
We have a lot of challenges. One, the situation in the country is not good. Feeding is a problem. Some other children have nothing. They don't have money, their parents are not working. You will find out that some children come from home without even taking tea.
and people are just shooting anyhow, people are dying anyhow. You just hear gunshot anyhow, you don't study well, even sometimes school is off on. That is the challenge that we are facing here. And the political one, you just find things are difficult in the market. You cannot afford to buy even a single pen.
We don't have books. The books we are given by the government are few. And in education, we are supposed to have each child carrying all the 6 syllabus books home so that their parents can help them at home. But at the moment, we only have copies for teachers to teach in the classes.
They are not enough for all of us. We need more of them. So for our teachers, when they come inside the class and they provide, at least each one of us should receive his or her own to read freely.
Because the area where I live is so far, so sometimes there is no transport. So I come late at school. I wake up at 6, I wake up, I do everything of mine. I hurry to the bus park. Then sometimes I reach at 8:50.
For me, I like netball mostly, but here we don't have netball in our school. We often use volleyball. That's the only games we have. So I need our school to have netball, basketball, football, those kinds of games.
In our school here, some of the classes, they need to be renovated. And some of the classes, they need to be painted. Our school here needs improvements.
These children, they are very bright children, I know them. And we will have a very good nation if the whole nation is God-fearing and hard-working citizen. We will have very good people in the future.
In South Sudan, children love to have fun. Many of their games are the same as the ones shared by millions of young people around the world. Jumping with a skipping rope is one such game. It is great exercise. A common sport at school is volleyball. Students learn to play the game in lessons and love to spend time during breaks practicing their skills. This is a game that works well as it can be played regardless of whether the ground is extremely dry or if the rain won't stop. Perhaps the most popular game is football. During school breaks and at home with friends, children can spend hours of fun kicking a ball around and chasing after one another. Regardless of the hard ground and lack of footwear, players give their all to win the ball. In many camps around the country, young South Sudanese have a lot of free time and a lot of space, so you can always find a ball on the move. After hours of dribbling and passing, some players show similar skills that are on a level with Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. There are other common games that are played slightly differently in South Sudan. Marbles is an easy game as it requires a small flat area and only a few marbles for a whole group to play. These boys are playing a game much like pétanque, where players take turns lobbing a marble towards a target line. Once marbles are hit, they are won and the game continues. Knucklebones is played all over the world, but in South Sudan it is known as dongali. Players sit in a circle and exchange their small pebbles. Once they have sorted these out, they take turns at tossing up a larger stone and must move the pebbles in and out of a small hole on the ground. Watch how skillful these players are. It takes a lot of concentration. A unique game to South Sudan is elimination. Players must avoid being hit by the other team who throw a small ball at them from an outside circle. While they dodge the ball, they try to fill up a container with sand. If they survive without being hit and manage to fill the container to the top, they win the round. It takes a lot of skill. Are You Ready is another interesting game which is similar to line tag. One tagger is chosen who runs after the rest of the group. If players are tagged, they must join the outside circle. All players must run only on the lines that form a cross within a circle. You have to be quick. It's great to see so much fun and laughter.
A key part of my job is travelling and meeting and working with different cultures and the different Caritas teams around the world. I'm often asked, what's it like to do all that travel? And it is quite tiring. I'm travelling a lot of the time. I spend a lot of time in airports and waiting for planes. But it is an aspect of my job that I particularly enjoy. I love meeting with different cultures and the different Caritas teams. I love seeing what we're doing around the world following different emergencies. I believe as a Christian that we are made in God's image. And yet we're all different. All our cultures are different. And so I believe very strongly that all of these cultures demonstrate something of who God is. And when I come across and I meet with friends from different nations and different languages and different cultures, I'm seeing something of who God is reflected in them. And that gives me a broader understanding of exactly who He is. I was first in South Sudan in 1996, which was at the start of my career. Of course, everything at that stage was very new, very exciting, but I was coming to a war zone. And at that stage, southern Sudan was fighting for independence from the north. I came back again in 2015. This time, South Sudan was a new country, a country that had recently, just 2 years prior, gained its independence from the north, and now here we were back fighting again. And I was here to support Caritas South Sudan as they met those additional needs due to the violence. Since then I've been back. I think this is my fourth time of coming back, and each time is different. At the moment the peace talks are going on in Addis in Ethiopia, and that has resulted in a little bit of increased tension. We're not quite sure what's going on, but we had planned to go to Wau just over the next few days. Because of increasing tension just around the city, we've had to change our plans, and we've moved down to Yei, which is just to the southwest of Juba. This demonstrates again the fluidity of the situation. The escalation of the tension can just happen overnight, and security is a real paramount importance, not just for the people that we're aiming to serve, but also the safety and security of our own staff. This makes planning particularly difficult. Over 7 million people have been affected by this compounding emergency of the war, of the drought, of the lack of food. It's very difficult to find anybody throughout the country that hasn't been affected in some way by this disaster. And trauma is evident in many people that we do speak to. When I go to places like South Sudan, I meet people and I go to places where I see trauma. I see people who are struggling with the conflict, with the ongoing drought, with the lack of access to food and water, the things that we take for granted. And it is hard to see people in that sort of situation. I've been doing this kind of work now for a number of years. I've used the skills, the experience that I have developed over those years to bring the support, the help that is required, and to demonstrate God's love practically through this experience. Last time I was here, it was dry. There had been no rain for several months. There was still ongoing drought and famine in some parts of the country. Now I'm back, and as you can see behind me, the area around Juba is very green. There's been a lot of rain, and there's a lot more greenery around. And I see this as being a little bit similar to the peace talks. These are fresh shoots of peace, and there is a hope and a continued aspiration for this country that peace will be restored in this nation. And that's my continued prayer for this country.
Caritas South Sudan as the developmental wing of the church, and Caritas in this case, the church also cares for the poor of the poorest.
People in South Sudan have been suffering from the effects of war. A war that has been going on among parties in this country, and the impact of this war has been mainly displacement of the people from their homes, from their villages, from their towns, and even from South Sudan to other countries. Displacement makes people poorer than what they are and they were, because once displaced from your homeland, you leave everything behind and you run for safety.
Around 7 million people in South Sudan are in need of assistance.
We have been trying to support, first to look for these people who have been displaced, and once we find them, we try to support them first with the food, then with the other non-food items, so that they continue to live a dignified life.
We are also supplying aid, food specifically, to the 7 dioceses that we handle. There is maize, flour, beans, posture.
Caritas South Sudan is also a member of Caritas Confederation. International organizations, especially non-governmental organizations, complemented the gaps in the country by providing assistance in order to support and assist the people of South Sudan.
I am not alone, and Caritas Ye is not alone here in this town. We work in a cluster system here in the town with the other NGOs, but we work mainly with the Caritas South Sudan. We plan together with them, and oftentimes we support them, give them the necessary information about the people, and they compile that and send it out to Caritas Internationalis as an emergency appeal.
I'm calling for children, pupils, students in New Zealand and all these other young age to put themselves in the shoes of those children who are here, who are not able to go to school, those children who are not able to eat, those children who have been wounded by gunshots. I want them to put themselves in that shoes. I want them to think about something that can help. We need help to be able to have people to afford something to eat, to be able to give these people seeds to plant and they have something to harvest, to carry out peace building programs. All these things need funding. So I'm calling for the people on the other part of the world to do fundraising for us in South Sudan.
New Zealand is a country far off from here, but we are all human beings. We all live on this globe. As we have Caritas Yei, we do have Caritas Switzerland, we do have Caritas Italy, we do have Caritas New Zealand. And as Caritas partners working together will help us solve many of the problems for us here in South Sudan.
When there is fighting taking off from Jonglei, this is why we came up to Juba here by footing. Fighting is very bad enough, so people are killing, and the cows also, the goats, everything is taken by those of Nuer. So we just run randomly, one by one, until we come to Juba here, and then we are just suffering until now. Juba is the big city, so this is why we came to let we get the help from UN. We get some help, but the help is stopping right now. We are just staying without help. Those the head of us, they are looking for fighting, but the rest down here, they don't want fighting. We are now suffering, as you saw us. We are suffering in the camp now. All the world came to our independence. We are happy. But what was happened? It is bad of the Riek Machar creating something to destroy the country again. I would like to let me eat well, to get good education for my children, and I don't want any more fighting again.
Just outside a camp on the outskirts of Juba, a woman called Nandor helps supervise a market stall to provide for her family. She is surviving in Mangatine camp with 10 other family members. 3 of these are her children, who are now grown up with kids of their own. She says that Mangatine is the only safe place she knows, because conflict is everywhere else. People come and buy oil and fish from her stall. She doesn't get to keep any of the money, but gets to keep the fish scraps and scales that she is keeping safe on her lap. This is the food that she takes home to feed her family each day. She has just enough to make a soup once she boils the fish dust. Other family members are doing other jobs nearby, and those without jobs are looking for wild vegetables. They arrived a few months ago after conflict in her village forced her whole community to flee. It took 2 whole months to walk to Mangatine to find safety. There was no help on the way, and people were forced to drink water and eat wild fruit in the jungle. She says that now they are safe, she would love food, water, and cooking materials. They are sick and need medication. She is praying for only good to come to her family.
We have really suffered. We have suffered, we have lost lives, thousands of lives. In South Sudan, when there is peace, there is life. Without peace, there's no life.
Peace to me is when you go to a different region and no one asks you what is your ethnicity. Peace is when there is no gunshots. Peace is when you can go to your farm, which is a very long distance or long mile, and no one attacks you from there. Peace is when you move freely without fear.
So with the council, we believe that peace is a process. Peace is not a project that, like today, I can build a house within 1 month and then it ends. So peace is a process. So I believe that reconciliation takes time.
So we developed an action plan for peace. We said it's very long term. We said there is no quick fix to peace. This is not going to be solved in 1 month or 1 year. We said we expect to be doing this for 10 to 20 years. Our action plan for peace has 3 pillars. One is advocacy. We defined advocacy as changing the narrative, because that includes all the international advocacy, coming to New Zealand to influence your government or going to the UN or wherever. That's part of it. But we said changing the narrative includes in the country. It includes not only changing the views of the government and the opposition here, but also the people themselves, moving out of that narrative of violence, moving out of hate speech and all of this other stuff into a narrative of peace.
We are the people who has really experienced the pain of this war. So for me, our voice is very strong, if can be heard. So in this workshop, we have learned a lot to applaud our voice to bring this peace.
We do believe that establishing or restoring relations among our people that has really run into difficulties because of the war is the first step towards building peace in this country.
The second pillar we call neutral forum, and that's basically dialogue. In fact, we explain it, we say neutral forum dialogues. We create neutral spaces where we can bring together people from all walks of life, all parties, all tribes, all political points of view for dialogue. Not setting an agenda necessarily, but building trust, encouraging them to bring things where they disagree, things which are obstacles to peace, and helping to work through that. The church being seen as a trusted neutral mediator.
One of the most important activities that I carry around South Sudan in peace building and trying to make people reconcile is community conversation. And the objective of community conversation is to create a space, a safe space for people to discuss their issues, opportunities, problems, and ultimately find solution to them.
We are passing the messages of peace, so people should reconcile and people should forgive each other, because the most important thing, if you want to bring permanent peace in this country, you have to forgive your enemies, and you have to accept your enemies also.
One of the major aspects for this community conversation is it provides healing. When people talk out their problems, they feel relieved, and this is part of trauma healing. And then this one, people are able to forgive each other, and that leads to reconciliation. Because without forgiveness, there cannot be any reconciliation. And if there is no reconciliation, which means there will be no peace.
The third pillar is reconciliation, which includes trauma healing. Again, we're already doing that at a local level, small scale, and we've had some local success. The national level one is beginning to roll out now. It will take us a while, but we'll cover the whole country.
We have teams that go out to bring ethnic groups, tribal groups together. So, for example, in Rumbek, where there's been tribes fighting over grazing land for their cattle. We've had workshops that have brought them together, in a sense they've made peace, if you like.
The church is doing a lot in terms of peace building.
The church in South Sudan is spread it all over the country. In particular, the Catholic Church is present in 7 dioceses in South Sudan, covering almost the entire land of South Sudan, having huge followers. And the charity work of the church has been there for a long time. The church has been able to provide services to our people in terms of education, in terms of health, in terms of their livelihood.
As a Christian, as a church worker, we believe there is hope always. There is always hope, and we hope there is going to be peace. But the question is, what type of peace are we talking about? The issue is, if we are talking about peace that addresses the root causes of the problem, this country will have a really, really good future.
Christ is the Prince of Peace. So it is instrumental that the church continues with that mandate. And that is exactly what I am doing. And I think that is very important. It is a role that is ongoing, and especially at the challenging moments of my own country. So the church should be more vocal, especially at this time, as an instrument of peace, to promote peace among the communities.
We want to live in peace, in permanent peace. Not the peace comes today and the tomorrow out now. We want to live in South Sudan in permanent peace.
What we want, we women of South Sudan, we want peace. Because now peace will not come out, it will come through us. If we love ourselves and forgive ourselves.
So if we can be able really to build peace and restore normal relations among our people, they will be able to make use of the resources and the talents they have to lead a better life.
Peace is when children are in school and there are no gunshots scaring them to run to their homes, and they are not able to attend schools. That is peace. Peace is when we are all happy and we accept the diversity of this country, because we have very many languages spoken in this country. So that is peace according to me.
As you could see, just behind me here are families that are in a feeding center receiving plumping out for children that are malnourished. And on my left, some of their shelters that they're sheltering under, and some are still under construction. And around me are some of the children who have been also affected by the conflict and are currently staying at Don Bosco. The estimated number of households stands at 500 as of now. And their most needs currently food stands as their most need at the moment. And water also remains as a concern.
For many South Sudanese living in camps, it can be a struggle to provide food for every family member. Some, like Nandor, help out in nearby markets to get food, or a small amount of money to share with their family. Others find jobs in the camp, as Samuel explains.
They are working here, there are two in this place. He's washing the clothes for his surviving. To get food. When somebody bring his clothes, he just come and do like that, and he can get the money to go and buy the food for himself. So now if there is no work like this, they will not eat it. They will not get the food.
With so many people living in such a small area, space is limited. More than half of the people living in camps are children. They enjoy playing together, including common games that we all know like football, marbles, and knucklebones, or dongali. Some even have school lessons in the camp. With more and more people arriving all the time, new shelters need to be constructed. Inside the tents there is no light or much room to move, so most of the time is spent outside.